Welcome to Navigating Advocacy, the true crime podcast that goes beyond storytelling to ignite change and seek justice. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Whitney. As true crime enthusiasts turned passionate advocates, we've seen the power of storytelling raise awareness about unsolved crimes and bring hope to victims and their families. We hope to inspire action and promote positive change within the true crime community.
Our mission is simple. We provide a platform for victims and their families to share their stories, to be heard, and find solidarity. But we don't stop there. We offer practical guidance to our listeners on how they can actively make a difference in their own communities.
Together, we can create a wave of change. We're here to empower you to also become advocates for change, no matter where or who you are. We are Navigating Advocacy.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. And I really feel like January is already flying by. Is 2024 going to be as fast as 2023? Because I need it to slow down.
I hope not. The older you get, the quicker it goes. So it is a bit depressing, to say the least.
I'm not convinced that there are actually 24 hours in a day because it really feels like there's only 6 because I can't seem to get anything done these days.
Agreed. It's like once you start on one project and then suddenly it's time for dinner and bed. So,
yep.
It's a bummer.
It doesn't help that we go to bed before 10 o'clock, but
we get up early. That is my caveat.
This is true.
I am a morning person. I do more in the first 4 hours than I do in the last 4 hours of my day. That is for sure.
That is true.
So we really don't have any announcements going on. We will maybe by next week have an announcement of possible meetup and event that we are going to hold. But until all those details are set, we're not even going to tell you what state.
Go to the comments and guess.
Oh, yes. Comment. Guess. It is not a state that we already covered in our Merlot files / action-oriented advocacy states.
It's correct.
I'm just going to jump into my Idaho case.
Let's do it.
So as I was researching this, I thought this victim in today's crime was from Idaho Falls. And so my first whole script was all about Idaho Falls, different aspects, which I'm still going to read. But he went to college there, he worked there, and he lived in like a suburb of Idaho Falls. So
okay.
Forgive me for that. But I already wrote so many good things about Idaho Falls. I'm like, I'm not going to go too much in depth to his suburb town. So,
well, now I want to hear all about it.
So Idaho Falls is a city located in the eastern part of Idaho. It is in the Snake River Valley, which is obviously near Snake River, and it is the largest city in the eastern Idaho region. Has about a population of 63,000, and it's always been associated with agriculture and the production of potatoes. Now, all I want to say is 9 times out of 10, my stereotype or how I think about a certain state is never on point. Never. I'm always thinking the exact opposite of what really is occurring in that state. But I am at that 1 out of 10 right here because that is what I know about Idaho. They produce a lot of potatoes. I didn't know that one of the notable features of Idaho Falls is its connection to nuclear research. That shocked me. The city is home to the Idaho National Laboratory, which is one of the U.S. Department of Energy's national laboratories. And the INL, as it is known, is a leading center for nuclear energy research and development. That was shocking. I'm glad I came upon the potato facts before because I'd be like, you're just an idiot and you know nothing about any states.
You need to go back to junior high geography.
Seriously, but I'm like, look, I knew the potato things. So Idaho Falls has several educational institutions, which includes the Idaho State University College of Technology. It also has a branch of the Brigham Young University. And nearby is the Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton National Park, and Craters of the Moon National Monument. All of these are, I want to say, within driving distance. So they've got a lot going on there. The city also hosts events and festivals. They bring in, they celebrate different cultural heritages. Neighborhood Scout does give Idaho Falls a rating of 25 as far as safety is concerned. The state of Idaho and Idaho Falls are both under the national average for violent crime, which is pretty amazing, as well as property crime. So the United States as a whole is much more violent and has much more crimes than Idaho or Idaho Falls.
I don't know what I expected for crime in Idaho to
Mhm.
be,
Especially a place that's
but
Idaho Falls, that just sounds nice. Even though Idaho Falls seems like a sleepy town without crime, the friends and family of Thomas Sherwood would say differently. And that is why we're navigating advocacy in Idaho today. Thomas Sherwood was born to Robert and Marjorie Sherwood on November 24th of 1958. He had siblings, but I am unsure whether they were older, younger, male or female. I couldn't find that much information about his time growing up. He had graduated high school from Green River, Wyoming. Then he went on to gain his bachelor's degree from Idaho State University there in Idaho Springs. He double majored in ecology and geology, which is amazing because all that science is hard.
wow, that's impressive.
It really is. Thomas would continue to work there in Idaho Falls while he did move to a small town of Pocatello. Thomas would eventually land a senior manager position at an environmental engineering and construction company known as North Winds. Again, there in Idaho Springs. This is where the majority of his friends, family, where he worked, fun things like that in Idaho Springs. He was one of the original managers of this business. So it was a startup. He started in as one of the managers, grew with the company, and I spent a lot of time on this company's website, and it's a well-to-do company. They've made a name for themselves in the environmental and engineering world over the last 3 decades. On September 4th of 2000, Thomas, who was married but did not have any children, was found dead in the basement of his home that he shared with his wife, Stephanie. Stephanie is the one that found Thomas dead, and she called police right away. She stated he had committed suicide. Based on her observations, is what I'm assuming. It's not been much released when it comes to the details of what was found in that basement. However, it wouldn't take long before authorities disagreed with her initial scene assessment. Now, this could be, hey, it looked like a suicide, so that's why she said that. Or could she possibly be trying to cover up something that she did or she knew of happened?
Maybe.
On the day that Thomas died, he was supposed to be scouting for sandhill cranes, and this was near the Gray Lakes. It was about an hour and a half away from his home.
These are the I think my husband calls them the filet mignon of the sea. Was he scouting to hunt them?
He was, and so
No, it's
here
filet mignon of the sky, not the sea.
yes. That wouldn't be filet mignon. That'd be tuna, no. Yes, sandhill cranes. You're the one that told me that sandhill cranes are people hunt them. Here in
Yeah,
Florida, they're
they're
a national
protected.
treasure, protected. We do not touch the sandhill cranes, and they will literally be in my front yard most mornings. I absolutely love watching them and especially when they have a baby with them. It's literally the cutest thing ever. They are allowed to hunt there in these birds there in Idaho. Thomas, he was an avid hunter, and apparently only in eastern Idaho they are known for their sandhill crane hunting because it helps reduce crop damage. Found that that was interesting as well. At least they have a reason for it.
And it's not just for sport.
Yes, yes, because well, I guess people do eat the sandhill cranes.
I mean, according to my husband, it's the filet mignon of the sky.
Yes. What else was happening in Thomas's life was that he was set to inherit his share of his grandfather's $2 million estate. This money would be split 5 ways, and it would leave Thomas with about $400,000. So still a significant amount of money in today's time, but this was back in 2000, so that was like a bajillion then. Now it would be
Right?
3 trips to Costco. A significant amount of money. I couldn't find any reports of issues with any legal proceedings of this state. It just seems like everything was right on track without any issues being raised by any other family members. This was looked into by police, but they could not find any motive there. It was about to be, I don't know what it's called. You probably know when an estate is settled, probated. I don't know if it has to go through probate. But after police arrived there on scene and started investigating, they realized it wasn't a suicide. But the scene was altered to look like a suicide, which wouldn't happen in your typical home invasion or robbery. They're not going to set up the scene to look like a suicide because they don't have that much time. So this almost looks as if it's an inside job.
And if their motive is the robbery, they're seeking items to steal versus or money or an something. They're not thinking about the destruction they're causing or what's it going to look like. They're just trying to get their stuff and go.
Exactly. And they're not going to set up a scene to make it look like a suicide. They're going to rob the place,
Mhm.
damage, make sure there's no witnesses and get the heck out of Dodge.
Okay, but on that same aspect, if they're there just to rob someone and maybe they didn't anticipate someone to be home, something happened, they accidentally murdered someone, then they had an oh crap moment.
But you never know how much time you have as a robber. You would be like, I got
I
to get out
agree.
of here as quickly as possible. Especially if there was a gunshot, you would assume neighbors could hear, they could be called, another family member could come home. It makes it even that much more risky. One of the most significant findings was the fact that Thomas was shot from a distance of around 8 feet or so. And it was twice to the chest, and I believe with a shotgun. So that alone, you're not going to be able to shoot yourself from 8 feet away. That's impossible. That was item number one, you can say. And that's really one of the only reasons that they have let out that of why they believe it was not a suicide. Authorities collected what they described as a ton of evidence, and the scene was recreated to get a better understanding of what happened, how this all played out. Even though Stephanie, Thomas's wife, put up a $10,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest of the person that killed her husband, the police had already set their sights on this woman and her brother. And according to one detective, he stated, I know who our suspects are in this case. It's just a matter of finding enough evidence to prosecute them. That's the frustrating part. We know what evidence we need for that to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. We have had other people review the case, and it comes back to the same conclusion we came up with. That would be terrifying that the police are saying that publicly if you were the murderers in this case, because they have the evidence. They're literally just waiting for that one extra piece.
It would definitely make you sweat a little bit knowing that someone's breathing down your neck.
Exactly. And you're not getting away with what you think you're getting away with. One detective who has been on the case for years stated that he always keeps track of Stephanie and her brother. He knows where they work and he knows where they live at all times. Police have asked for polygraph tests to be completed, but on the advice from their attorneys, they have declined. One thing that came from Thomas's murder is an annual golf tournament is hosted in his memory by his former place of employment. It is called the North Winds Annual Sherwood Memorial Golf Tournament, and this raises thousands of dollars for scholarships in Thomas Sherwood's honor. The scholarship is for Idaho State University Foundation, and it is called the Tom Sherwood Memorial Scholarship. And this benefits students pursuing the geoscience or biology degrees because that is his entire life was that. He went to school for that. That was his day to day job. I can only imagine how much the sciences shaped him. So they decided to give back in that aspect, which I think is an amazing thing. While I was on the company's website, it talked about how much they raised and why they started this foundation, and I just thought it was such a sweet way to honor one of their senior managers who honestly probably helped shaped their company. That is really all that is known about this unsolved murder. It kinda shook the town because of how quiet it had been. Thomas had so many friends and loved ones, they still get together, and I believe on every article I read and every post there was like, "Hey, he was my friend, he was my coworker." They deeply miss him, and they know and they're trying to get justice for him.
That's so sweet.
It really is. Thomas's killer or killers are still out there living their lives, but it's time we put an end to that. So please contact the Bangkok County Sheriff's Department at 208 236 7111 or the Idaho Cold Case Tip Line at 844 TIP 4040.
They have so much information. What's the one piece they need from us? How do we get that one piece for them?
I don't know. After all this time, I doubt the perpetrators would give a confession, but they do believe more if their suspect are correct and his wife and her brother had something to do with it. Law enforcement do believe more people, possibly in the family or friends realm, knew or know what happened, and they just aren't coming forward either.
How do we convince those family members to, I remember something weird about that night, or you know what? I don't remember seeing them at X location. They just told me they were there. And just to kind of build up more information and like squeeze that timeline shorter to where maybe their alibis don't work anymore.
Very true. Very true. Especially relationships change, things are different. It's been 23 or 24 years, almost 24 years. So hopefully someone will hear this, they'll see our social media posts, and they'll be like, "Hey, it's about time I said something because this is not right." A man lost his
Right.
life. We want to share a few ways you can support us to continue our mission. You can become a Patreon subscriber for as little as $1 per month, or a simple rate and review on your favorite podcast platform helps us get in front of someone who may know something.
We will continue traveling state by state seeking justice because we will be there no matter where.
No matter who.